Good day everybody. I have a YouTube channel for grade 10 to 12 accounting. I thought it would be a good idea to include grade 8 and 9 EMS, but just the accounting topics that you cover. So the videos that I'm going to do will be on the accounting aspects, which you do actually quite a lot of EMS for grade 8 and grade 9. Today the topic is going to be your cash journals, which is your CRJ, your cash receipts journal. That's used to record all money received by the business, as the name suggests, and the CPJ, which is your cash payments journal, and that's going to be used to record all money paid by the business. Now remember, as transactions take place, they need to be written down, and those get written down on what we call source documents. So a source document is a written record of a transaction, and you obviously need to do that because if you don't, you will not be able to remember all your transactions. Okay, in the cash receipts journal, there are three options here depending on what has happened. Okay, the first one here we call a receipt. That is used when it's necessary to keep a record of the name of the person from whom the money is received. So if someone comes into the business and we need to know their name, we're going to give them a receipt. Other times people come into the business and instead of writing out a receipt, we just give them a till slip. So CRT stands for cash register tape, and that is simply a till slip. The third option here is your bank statement, BS. That's used when money is deposited directly into the bank account of the business. So if someone transfers money to you by EFT, that will get recorded on the bank statement, and when you get your bank statement, you will see that transaction there, and you will be able to record it into your cash receipts journal. For your cash payments journal, there's only one source document here, and that is your bank statement. So the bank statement is used to record all EFT payments you might make, as well as any withdrawals of cash. Right, before I go through this actual example here, I just want to quickly go through the headings of the cash receipts journal and cash payments journal. So we have a document column, which is for the name and, if relevant, number of the source document. D stands for day that the transaction took place. Details is if you know the person giving you the money, otherwise you can just put cash here if you receive money from several people. Then we have something called analysis of bank. This column is only used if the person paying you comes into the business and gives you the money. So if the money comes into the business first, it gets recorded under analysis of bank. And then at the end of every day, you are going to deposit the money into your bank account. The bank column, if something doesn't come into the business first, so someone transfers money directly into your bank account, then it goes straight into bank and not into analysis first. We then have something called a fee income account, and that is used whenever you receive money for doing work for somebody. So if we're doing no-leak plumbing, if we're fixing up people's pipes and bathrooms, etc., the money they give us is called fee income. And then we need another column here called sundry accounts. Sundry accounts means lots of different accounts. So we use this column here if we don't have a special money column for the item that we are receiving money for. And that will become clearer, I think, when I go through the worked example. Then in the cash payments journal, you also have a document and a day column, as well as details, that's who you pay. Then you have a bank column to record the money that you're paying, and then you have several columns here, and these can change. In this example, I'm going to use equipment, stationery, consumable stores, but you could have other ones there like wages or whatever. Okay, and once again you're going to have a sundry accounts column, and that is used when we don't have a special amounts column for something. Okay, let's go through the example. When you are doing this work, I suggest you read the transaction and record it straight away. Do not read through the transactions and decide CRJ and CPJ and then have to go back and reread all the transactions. Rather read the transaction and enter straight away. so that you go through the transactions once only. Alright, so on the first here, the business required additional funds and they obtained money as follows. From the owner, he increased capital from 520 to 550, in other words 30,000, and we obtained a loan from Standard Bank for 36,000. Okay, the business is receiving money there, so then you're going to use the cash receipts journal. The money was deposited directly into the bank, so for both of them, your document is bank statement. Right, Mr. Dry gave us money. It went straight into bank, so you leave out analysis here, and the money was for capital. Now we don't have a capital column here, which is where we need to use sundry accounts and write what it's for, in this case capital. And likewise, when we get the loan, we don't have a loan column, so we need to write loan here. Both of those directly into the bank, so nothing under analysis bank. The money did not come into the business first, it went directly to the bank. Okay, the next one, an EFT payment was made to Waterfall for new tools costing 2650 and consumer stores costing 500. When you buy more than one thing from a business, you do not pay them separately. That's like saying you go into Spar and you buy a Coke, a packet of chips and a chocolate. You don't pay for the Coke, get your change, pay for the chips, get your change, and pay for the chocolate. The cashier will just add all three things together and you will pay once. So likewise, we are going to pay Waterfall Supplies once only. The tools are equipment. You're going to take the 2650 and the 500. You are paying money. The total there is 3150. The tools go under equipment, and the consumable stores goes under consumable stores, and this stays empty. If I want to know what I paid for, I look at the heading. Alright, the next one. A total of 1,600 Rand was received from Sprungerleek for fixing his faulty shower. So we receive money there. We receive 1,600. We record the name of the person in this case, so we would have given him a receipt. Now this money came into the business first, and then we take it to the bank and we deposit it. And that amount of money, whenever you do work for someone, remember I told you, use fee income. So that amount will get recorded under fee income and nothing over here. I can see what I'm receiving the money for by looking at the heading. Okay, the next one. Withdrew cash from the bank to purchase stationery from Macro. You're paying money. You withdrew cash, so here you write cash because that's how you get the money from the bank. You could write Macro here if you wanted to. And the amount was 640 and it was for stationery. I use my stationery column and I leave sundry accounts empty. Then paid MTN 2,400 using an EFT. It was for the business cell phone account and the rest for the owner. So one payment is being made to MTN here, 2,400. The business cell phone will get regarded as telephone, and we don't have a telephone column here, so we have to write here. And to get that 1,800, you take 3/4. So divide by 4 times 3, you get 1,800. Whenever the owner uses business money for himself, it gets recorded as drawings. So over here you record drawings, and that would just be 1/4 of the 2,400. You must put those two things separately. You can't write telephone and drawings, because otherwise you're not going to know how much is for each one. And you do need to know that as you go through and cover more accounting topics. Right, then the next one. Some of the tools bought on the 3rd were damaged and were thus returned. A refund of 240 was received, and then on the same day cash was received for services rendered. Services rendered is when you do work for somebody. It's a fancy way for saying you did a job for somebody. Now both of those were on the same day. Both of them involve receiving money. Okay, so if we start with the refund that we got from Waterfall Supplies, that money came into the business And the name of the account that you're going to write here is what you're getting the refund for. Equipment in this case. Do not write refund. You need to know what you're getting the refund for. And on the same day you earned fee income of 12,980. That money also came into the business. Now when you receive a lot of money on the same day, you do not go to the bank every time you receive money. Otherwise you'll be back and forth to the bank so many times you get nothing done. So what we do then is we take both of those amounts that we received that came into the business, the 240, and we add the 12,980, and you go to the bank once to deposit the 13,220. See if you can remember that. Very few of my pupils seem to be able to. Okay, then the next one, an EFT payment in favour of Prop Limited was used to pay the rent for January and February. Rent for January was 6,200, but February was increased by 10%. Okay, we are paying money, so it's going to go in the CPJ. Now to calculate the amount of rent, they say that rent for February was 10% more. So if I work out 10% to 6,200, I get 620. I then add the 620 to the 6,200, which means February's rent here would be 6,820. So the total that I would have paid would be the January rent of 6,200 plus this February rent here of 6,820. Once again, one amount is being paid. The thing that we're paying is rent expense. There's no column here for it. So under sundry accounts you write rent expense over here. Okay, then one of the customers Armon was not satisfied with the quality of workmanship and the toilet was repaired. He was thus paid in cash, which had been drawn by the bank for a partial refund. You are paying money here to Armon. You could write cash if you wanted to. The amount is 390 and the refund is being given for fee income. So that is what you write under your details column here, fee income. Once again, I want to stress every amount must go in two places. Okay, over here we had 18 plus 600 gave me 24. Here we had 641, 642. Here we had 391, 392. You see every amount is in two places. Alright then, cash received from customers was banked, so that's more fee income that you receive. You've probably given till slips to your customers, so you can use CRT here, and fee income was used and sundry account stays empty. The money came into the business first. There were no other transactions on that day, so we just banked it. Right, then, pay general stores for consumer stores 100, equipment 700, and stationery 50. Once again, you're paying one person there, or one business rather. So 700 is for equipment, 50 is for stationery, 100 is for consumer stores. That stays empty here because you've got columns, and the total amount that you pay here will be 850. Then leave out the next one. Transferred 15,200 Rand to the bank account to pay Mrs. Pipes, who is a monthly paid worker. Okay, you're paying a monthly paid worker here. That is different to wages, okay? That amount there will be paid to Mrs. Pipes for her salary. If you were paying weekly paid workers, you would pay wages. Alright, and then bank fees received from customers, 17,600. So that's going to go in your cash receipts journal. 17,600. The money came to the business and the money was deposited into the bank, and that was for fee income. You'll notice here I had a transaction for interest received. That transaction should have just said received interest. Instead of saying paying the loan, that should have actually said received interest. So you can change that on the question when you go to cover that. So you can just delete that and just say received interest. That's what should have been typed there. And the amount of interest that we received there was 240. So we received interest 240 Rand from Standard Bank. Okay, apologies for that error there. Alright, so in summary then, cash receipts journal is used when you receive money, cash payments journal is used when you pay money. Always put the amount in two places. If you've got a special column for the amount, like here free income or here stationery, etc., use it. If you don't, then you need to use sundry accounts, and the details that you write here are going to be the name of the ledger account. Okay, the next time I do a video will be on something called general ledger. But until such time, you need to practice these cash receipts and cash payments journals because you always get asked them, particularly in your June exam. And that's all for now. Thanks.